Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Joe Boria with this week's Weekly Thought Flash. I'm with Dr. Pete Lombardi, who's joining us today. Hi, Dr. Pete.
Dr. Joe.
Good to see you, man.
Thanks, man.
We were going to talk about some stuff. You had some good topics you want to talk about.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about the Monday night. And Monday night, for those of you that don't know, that's your case review, and we do it in a group setting.
Yeah.
And so we have your patients have already come in, they had their initial exam, they had their first visit with you with their adjustment and their x-ray, and you've looked at the x-ray, but they haven't seen their x-ray yet. And then we have them come in and bring their spouse. And it's real important to have the spouse there on that visit. And you know as well as anybody, if the spouse isn't there, they can oftentimes sabotage whether or not the patient does care or not. So it's real vital that the spouse comes to that visit. And I just wanted to say that we had a great success last night in our office because we had everybody had their spouse there for the visit, and everybody signed up for care. But not only that, but all the spouses signed up for care. All of their children signed up to be evaluated, and that's exactly the result that you want to have. But the challenge was before that. The previous week, one of the patients showed up for the case review night on Monday night, and they didn't bring their spouse. So what do you do in that case, Dr. Joe?
Well, you're definitely going to tell the patient that you're going to adjust them that visit, and then that you're going to set up another visit for them on the following week to review their x-rays. You are not going to review those films and go over their case unless their spouse is there. If they further challenge you on that, you're going to bring them to a sidebar, have a private conversation to see exactly what the challenge is. But 99.9% of the time,
it's going to work out.
The spouse is going to be there, and you're definitely going to want them there.
Yeah, and it was great because my staff, my team, they handled it like champions, and they brought it over to the table. They gave me an alert to let me know that was what the deal was. And I immediately confronted it with the patient right away. I didn't get all nervous about it because there's no reason to. I mean, you're running the show here. It's your office. It's their health care. And either they're going to play by your game or they're not. They're going to go somewhere else. And that's okay, because if they're not going to follow your rules on something that simple, then what are they going to do later on in care? They're going to challenge you with other things as well. And so anyway, he realizes that it is a good idea to bring a spouse because she handles all the finances. And I told him, I said, you're going to have to make some kind of financial decision tonight. He said, well, my wife's an accountant, so I think she definitely should be here. So anyway.
Got to have the spouse. A couple other quick things. One, if I can address that with you, you said that one Monday he showed up and he wasn't with a spouse.
Right.
And you're comfortable with what at that moment? You're going to address that his spouse needs to be there.
Right.
And you touched on it a little bit. But what are you comfortable with? Because what could possibly happen if you say, look, I need your spouse needs to be here?
Right. Well, they could say, well, my spouse doesn't want to come. They told me flat out they're not coming here, and they can give you an ultimatum at that point. They can say either you're gonna do this report tonight for me, or I'm out of here. And you can handle that one of two ways. You can say, well, fine, that's our rules. But typically, what I'll say to them at that point is, you know what? If your spouse is adamant about you not coming here, I'm going to cover, we're going to cover everything about your case. We're going to show you your x-rays. We're going to actually go over, all the recommendations for care that you're going to need for making a correction in your spine. And on top of that, I'm going to show you what it costs and what you're going to have to actually pay me. If I show you all of that stuff, are you going to say, you know what, I need to think about it. I'm going to go home and talk to my spouse? Because if that's the case, then your spouse needs to be here. But if you can make that decision tonight, and we're not going to get to that point, you're going to say that to me, I'll present your case to you, because you should certainly, in my opinion, I don't want to turn the person away if their spouse is a jerk and they don't want to come, or for whatever reason they have, or whatever hang-up they have. Right. And so that was the case. The guy was glad to bring the spouse. 99% of the time they'll bring the spouse.
And you're fully comfortable if they're uncomfortable with that, of what? Because what could possibly happen in that situation as well? You might say, well,
they could say, hey, look, and that's okay too. I mean, there's other people out there that are a better fit for that person than I am. And what are they going to be in the practice later? Are they going to be a lot of fun to be around?
No.
No. And practice should be fun. I drove home last night. I was just so happy, man. I just love what I do.
Yeah.
Don't you just love what you
100%.
do? Yeah, and it's like you don't have to do it for the money.
Right.
I mean, who needs more money at this point?
Absolutely, 100%. Another important point you made, the kids got checked.
Yeah.
And you and I had talked about that for a while, and I certainly, in coaching you, said you need to get this for your Monday night to leave a great impression. Why? What was it?
Well, he said, you need to go on eBay and order yourself a set of forceps, okay, or in a vacuum extractor. I didn't get the vacuum extractor.
That's right.
Because the forceps works great. So why would you use forceps? Well, because people have no idea that a child and a baby can be subluxated during the birth process. And last night we used the forceps every week, and we have a little baby doll that we got at Walmart. And I always give it to somebody who's the biggest skeptic in the crowd and say, just hold on to this baby. And we talk about birth trauma, and the quote from Harvard Medical, Dr. Tobin from Harvard Medical, who said that abnormal birth, injury from childbirth, latent spinal cord injury in childbirth can cause abnormal function and behavior later in life. So that's an issue. How does that really happen? And we show them the forceps. So we hang on to the baby, we put the forceps on, and then normally the baby, don't let go of the baby.
Not going to let go, Dr. Lombardi.
So normally the baby's head is going to rotate, and then the shoulder's going to pop out. So now that's what the doctor's going to do. They're going to rotate and then try to pop the shoulder up. The baby's stuck, so we got to pull. And so now the patient is actually holding on to this, or maybe it's the patient's spouse is holding on to this baby, and they're feeling that amount of tension, that amount of force that you're putting in there. So what does that do to the newborn spine? What does that do to their spinal cord? What kind of injuries and life challenges can they have for the rest of their life? When are they ever going to get checked? When should they get checked? Sure. Start asking those questions, and you will just see amazing reactions in the room, because they're going to realize it's a good idea at this point to probably have my kid checked and not wait any longer.
Exactly.
And yeah, thank you, Dr. Joe. eBay, $50, you can make more.
Right, and then we had talked about when you use the forceps in the office and the patient is sitting there and they themselves are born with forceps. You told me another story of a guy where you were asking about that.
Well, last night, I asked him, what does a baby's head usually look like after they've been born? And the guy volunteered. He goes, I was born with forceps, and I had dents in my head still. You can visually still see these dents in this grown man's skull on both sides. And I just asked a simple question, do you think that could have affected anything to do with your brain activity, your ability to concentrate, focus? How about your health? The spinal cord and the brainstem. Your brainstem deals with your heart rate, your breathing, your digestion, and your immune function. Did you have any challenges with those growing up? And he, of course, volunteered that he was a kid that got sick a lot, had the ear infections, had the trouble with the breathing, all of those things. So you wonder why. So is it valuable to do that? Is it putting yourself out on the limb saying, oh gee, I don't want to use those forceps? That looks very like you're trying to scare the patient. Not really. You're trying to create some reality there. That's what it comes down to. You want them to have the same reality that you already realize, that subluxations are dangerous. Subluxations are what disconnect you.
They're going to kill you. We have, we're running out of time here, but we've got the sympathetic segmental disturbances. A lot of guys have emailed me or called me in and asked me to give them some information. You can pull all this stuff right on the web. This is on Dan Murphy's site, but you can get it, most of that stuff you can just download right on the web. There's so many of the scientific articles on it. But this talks about how sympathetic inhibition, loss of normal spinal movement can lead to disease and death in the body. So, the science is there. We just certainly need to have it. And like James Chestnut always says, sounds good, can I
have a copy?
Yeah, can I have a copy?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, where did you read that? And can I have a copy?
Exactly.
It's a great line.
I just a couple of quick dates coming up. We're going to be speaking in mid-Manhattan next week on Wednesday. I'm going to be speaking in Brooklyn the following week. I'm going to be speaking at DCS Club with Billy DeMoss and Brad Glowacki right here. That's where you get these awesome t-shirts, by the way. And then we've got the LaGuardia 24th, 25th. Airport Pete Lombardi is going to be speaking an hour plus on marketing. We're going to be going over new patient information, processing new patient information. So certainly we'd love to be there. You can visit chiropracticconsulting.com in order to be there. I want to thank Dr. Pete for being here. Go ahead.
Thank you. Don't forget Dr. Matt McCoy is going to be there also.
That's kind of an important point.
Yeah, Dr. Matt McCoy, Mr. Science himself in chiropractic. You don't want to miss him.
Yeah, so great.
So it's going to be a great seminar, and thanks for Dr. Joe for all that you've done for me.
Absolutely, buddy.
And,
thank you.
Look forward to working with you, brother.
This is going to be great.
Yeah.
So we're moving forward. Dr. Pete's part of the program now with ChiroPassion and one of our coaches, and he's going to bring a lot more of a perspective to people because he's obviously still being coached as well, and he's gone through a lot of recent growth. He's going to share that with you, obviously through his coaching. So thanks, guys. Mandates flow from above down. I'll talk to you guys next week.
Inside out.
He said each day